Of all the planets in our solar system, Saturn is the one people fall in love with first, even as children, even from a distance of over 1 billion kilometers, even through the eyepiece of a backyard telescope on a cold, clear night. There is something about those rings, something that does not feel real, something that looks more like a painting than a planet, more like a dream than a world. For centuries, astronomers who first glimpsed Saturn through early telescopes thought they were seeing things. Galileo thought it had ears. Others thought it was 3 planets pressed together. None of them could believe what they were looking at. And honestly, they were right to be suspicious, because Saturn is a liar. It presents itself as beautiful, serene, almost gentle. This golden ringed giant drifting through the outer solar system, like something carved from mythology. But if you ever got close, if you ever tried to land on it, to touch it, to stand on it, Saturn would kill you. Not slowly, not eventually, instantly. In fact, the word landing does not even apply to Saturn, because Saturn has no surface to land on. There is no ground, no rock beneath your feet. No place to stand, just a deepening, crushing, unimaginable hell that gets worse with every kilometer you descend. So what exactly would happen to a human body or any object that fell into Saturn? The answer is one of the most visceral, terrifying, and scientifically fascinating stories in our entire solar system. And it starts not with the planet itself, but with the moment you arrive. Before you even reach Saturn, the rings are waiting for you. And the rings are not what most people imagine. From a distance, they look smooth, solid, like a flat, glassy disc wrapped perfectly around the planet, like something you could skim a spacecraft across, like a stone on water. They are nothing like that. Saturn's rings are made of billions upon billions of individual pieces of ice and rock, some the size of a grain of sand, some the size of a house, some the size of a mountain. All of them orbiting Saturn at extraordinary speed. The particles in Saturn's rings travel at roughly 70,000 kilometers per hour. That is about 20 kilometers every single second. Now imagine flying your spacecraft into that. Even a piece of ice the size of a golf ball, traveling at that speed, carries enough kinetic energy to punch straight through the hull of any vehicle we have ever built. And in the rings, those particles are not spaced out conveniently. They are dense, overlapping, constantly colliding with each other in cascading chain reactions of impact and debris. The rings are not a beautiful backdrop. They are a high-speed graveyard of shrapnel. NASA's Cassini spacecraft, one of the most sophisticated machines humanity has ever launched into space, spent 13 years orbiting Saturn. In its final mission, it made a series of daring passes between the planet and the inner edge of the rings. Passes that scientists called the grand finale. Even in that relatively clear gap between planet and rings, Cassini detected dust particles hitting its instruments. Fine, fast, relentless. A human body in a spacesuit would not survive the rings. But let us say you are careful. Let us say you navigate through the rings safely. You thread the needle, you make it through. Now you're falling towards Saturn itself. And this is where things get truly brutal. Because what greets you on the other side of the rings is not a planet in any normal sense of the word. It is a machine, a pressure machine, a gravity machine, a temperature machine, and every single one of those machines is tuned to destroy you. Saturn is a gas giant. That means it has no solid surface, no crust, no rocky ground. It is made almost entirely of hydrogen and helium, the 2 lightest elements in the universe, compressed by gravity into increasingly dense layers that descend for tens of thousands of kilometers. If you fell into Saturn, here is what would happen. At first, the atmosphere would seem almost manageable. The upper layers are thin, cold, brutally cold, around minus 180 degrees Celsius. Winds scream past at over 1,800 kilometers per hour. That is 5 times the speed of a Category 5 hurricane, sustained, constant, planet-wide. Those winds alone would shred any structure we have ever built. But let us say you survive the winds. You're still falling, going deeper. As you descend, the pressure rises. On Earth, we live at 1 atmosphere of pressure, the weight of the air above us pressing down on every square centimeter of our bodies. At 100 kilometers below Saturn's cloud tops, the pressure is already 10 atmospheres, enough to crush an unprotected human body like a paper cup. At 1,000 kilometers deep, you're looking at hundreds of atmospheres, pressures that would destroy most submarines, pressures that exist at the very bottom of our deepest ocean trenches and keep going far, far beyond. But you are still falling. The temperature is rising now too. The deeper you go, the hotter it gets. Saturn generates its own internal heat, more heat than it receives from the distant sun. The planet is slowly contracting under its own gravity, and that contraction generates enormous thermal energy from deep within. At depth, temperatures reach thousands of degrees. You are no longer in a planet. You are inside a furnace wrapped in a crushing vice. At around 30,000 kilometers below the cloud tops, something extraordinary happens, something that does not occur anywhere else in the known universe in quite this way. The hydrogen around you, subjected to such unimaginable pressure, stops behaving like a gas. It becomes a liquid. Not liquid the way water is liquid. Liquid hydrogen in a way that has no comparison in everyday experience. Thick, dense, alien. And if you keep falling, if something could keep falling, which nothing from our world could, the pressure continues to climb, and the liquid hydrogen transitions again into something called metallic hydrogen, a state of matter so exotic it was theorized for decades before we could even create tiny amounts of it in laboratories. A state in which hydrogen, stripped of its normal atomic behavior by incomprehensible pressure, begins to conduct electricity like a metal. This metallic hydrogen layer is what generates Saturn's enormous magnetic field, a field that stretches millions of kilometers into space around the planet, a field powerful enough to trap and accelerate charged particles into radiation belts that would deliver a lethal dose of radiation to any unprotected human in just minutes. So, to summarize where we are, shredded by the rings, torn apart by supersonic winds, crushed by pressure, cooked by heat, drowned in exotic liquid hydrogen, fried by radiation. And at the very center of all this, nobody knows exactly what is there. The core of Saturn is one of the deepest mysteries in planetary science. And what scientists suspect is down there is stranger than anything we could have invented. For a long time, scientists believed Saturn had a small, dense, rocky core at its center. A solid heart beneath all that gas and liquid. Something familiar. Something that at least followed rules we understood. Then the data started telling a different story. Using a technique called seismology, the same basic science we use to study earthquakes on Earth, scientists began analyzing ripples and oscillations moving through Saturn's rings. The rings, it turns out, are extraordinarily sensitive instruments. Disturbances inside the planet create waves that travel outward and leave detectable patterns in the ring material. What those patterns revealed was extraordinary. Saturn's core may not be a small, hard, dense ball at all. It may be what scientists are now calling a fuzzy core, a diffuse extended region, perhaps as large as 17 times the diameter of Earth, where rock, ice, and metallic hydrogen are not neatly separated, but blended together, mixed, smeared across a vast interior zone in a gradient of increasing density rather than a sharp boundary. This changes almost everything we thought we knew about how gas giants form and evolve. It suggests that the interior of Saturn is still in motion, still slowly mixing, still evolving over billions of years in ways that our models are only now beginning to capture. And there is something else. Saturn is losing its rings. Not quickly by human standards, but measurably, definitively losing them. Ring material is constantly being pulled down into Saturn's atmosphere by gravity, a process called ring rain. Scientists estimate that Saturn's rings, as magnificent as they are, may be completely gone within 100 to 300 million years. In geological time, that is not long. The rings we see, the rings that made Galileo think he was losing his mind, the rings that make every child gasp when they first see them through a telescope, are temporary. We live in a rare window of cosmic time when Saturn happens to be wearing its crown. A few 100 million years ago, they may not have existed. A few 100 million years from now, they will be gone. We just happen to be here right now, in this brief moment when the most beautiful planet in our solar system is at its most beautiful. But all of this, the fuzzy core, the disappearing rings, the exotic states of matter, only deepens the central truth about Saturn. It is not a place for anything fragile. It is not a place for anything alive. It is magnificent and lethal in a way that our biology, our engineering, and our imagination can barely keep up with. And yet, we sense something there, and what it found before it died changed us forever. On the 15th of September 2017, a spacecraft died. Not by accident, not by failure, but by choice. The Cassini spacecraft had been orbiting Saturn for 13 years. It had traveled 7 billion kilometers to get there. It had returned over 450,000 images. It had made discoveries that rewrote textbooks. It found that Saturn's moon Enceladus has a liquid water ocean beneath its icy surface, an ocean that shoots geysers of water vapor into space, an ocean that could, in theory, support life. It found that Saturn's moon Titan has lakes and rivers and the full hydrological cycle, not of water, but of liquid methane, an alien world with weather and seasons and shorelines. It mapped the rings in extraordinary detail. It measured the magnetic field. It sampled the atmosphere. It listened to Saturn's radio emissions and turned them into sounds that feel like something between a whale song and a haunted transmission from another dimension. And then, when it ran low on fuel, NASA made a deliberate decision. Rather than risk Cassini drifting uncontrolled and potentially contaminating one of Saturn's moons, especially Enceladus with its possibility of life, they aimed the spacecraft directly at Saturn. They flew it in. On that final morning, Cassini entered Saturn's atmosphere still transmitting, still sending data, right up until the signal stopped. Its antenna pulled away from Earth as it began to tumble, overwhelmed by the atmosphere it had spent a decade studying from a safe distance. It was crushed. It was vaporized. It became part of Saturn. A machine built by human hands dissolved into the clouds of a world 1.4 billion kilometers from home. There is something about that ending that stays with you. A spacecraft built on Earth, launched by human ambition, powered by curiosity, spending its final moments falling into the most beautiful and lethal planet in our solar system. Still working, still sending, until the very end. Saturn kills everything that enters it. That is simply the truth. But Cassini did not go there despite that truth. It went there because of it. Because the most dangerous, most extreme, most alien environments in the universe are also the most revealing. They are the places where physics operates without compromise, where matter behaves in ways that our sheltered Earth existence never shows us. And every measurement Cassini sent back in those final seconds was one more piece of a puzzle that we are still assembling. Saturn will be there long after we are gone, long after our sun has swelled into a red giant and swallowed this world, long after every human name has been forgotten. That golden giant with its impossible rings will keep spinning through the dark storm-wrapped and ancient and indifferent. But for 13 years, we were there with it. We sent a small, brave machine to keep it company. And in return, Saturn told us its secrets. Not all of them, never all of them, but enough. Enough to make us want to go back.